Thank you, everybody, for coming out for lunch. So the reason I said yes when Stephen Galloway went to meet with my team, you know, when they came and said, you know, the Hollywood Reporter wants to give you an empowerment award, I do not, Kamal, you're so right. I do not need another award. But after it was explained to me that it was for the young executives and that it was about taking this moment that we all share here and reaching back and reaching out and empowering others, that is the reason why I said yes, Sherry Lansing. I said yes because I think that's the role that we all have in this room, to take what you have and who you are and to pass it on in whatever way you can. That's your real job. That's the real work, is not just to rise, but to make sure somebody else gets to come on up to the rising. So I have to say, as my sister Alicia was saying, the moment, I'm in tears because the moment is it's even better than I thought it was gonna be. Thank you, THR. That was such a great moment. I was talking to the young people backstage. The trajectory of your life is about to change. Everything is about to change. I read all of your stories. Everything that ever happened to you has also happened for you. And the strength and courage that you've shown, that you allowed yourselves to be chosen in this moment, is not luck. It's because you've been preparing. All of those struggles have been preparing you for this moment. And the trajectory is about to change because you're going to have access. You're going to see what's really going on. And I remember I had that moment. I was saying this to Lacey Rose, who was my favorite reporter at the Hollywood Reporter. I was saying to Lacey, I remember the first time, Bishop, I came to Bel Air, and I went, whoa, this is what white people have been doing all this time? Well, now I understand a few things. So just being able to have the access and the opportunity. So thank you, Ari Emanuel, WME, THR, all for this moment. You know, when I was first approached about being here, it struck me that this is actually coming at a very perfect moment. Because I think a whole lot of us in this country have been feeling a kind of impotent rage as a result of the micro inequalities and the macro unfairness that we see every single day. And I'm here to tell you that there is a time to let things happen, and there is a time to make things happen. And this new program and this award, this extraordinary award, is actually a declaration that now is the time to make some things happen. Because Kamal is right, empowerment is authority. It is a signed permission slip to actually seize the day. It's the process of getting stronger and more confident and more engaged. And to be empowered is to move through the world without any kind of fear or any kind of apology. And with these gifts comes an even deeper privilege, I believe, and that is the ability to take charge of your own life, to own yourself, and claim your rights. And here's what I know for sure, that to whom much is given, much is expected. And I have been given so much. I've earned it, I've been blessed with it, but I've been given a lot. And that's why I've chosen to use my life to lift other people up. You know, I think some people think that, or under the impression that I was born empowered, that I was born coming out of the womb, ready to interview a Klansman. Then cut to commercial, we'll be right back. But the truth is, I know very well what it's like to be marginalized, to be told either subtly or quite directly that my contribution isn't or wasn't welcome, that my face was invisible, and that my needs were an affront. So back when I was doing the news in Baltimore, I asked to be paid the same as my co-anchor, who did exactly the same job as I was doing. And I expected that I would be compensated. So I went in and I asked that I would get the same amount of money. So he was doing the same job I was doing, except that he called me babe all the time. Babe, yeah, babe. Anyway, I was told by my news director and by the general manager, because first I went to the news director, then I went to general manager, and I was told that because I was a single woman who didn't have a mortgage and I didn't have kids, that I was not entitled to earn the same kind of money as the man who was sitting next to me doing the same thing. And I realized in that moment that my employers did not get it. They did not understand my value. But you know what? I did. So cut to AM Chicago. The team's hard at work, and they had been working for a long time. And after a year or so, we were asked to be syndicated. That work began to pay off. And before long, we were now no longer called AM Chicago. We're the national Oprah Winfrey show. I got a raise. This is before I owned myself. So I got a raise. But my producers did not. So I went into the boss at the time, and I asked that my producers, who incidentally were all female, I asked that they would be given a pay raise increase. And my boss, this is in 1986, said, why? They're only girls. What do they need more money for? Girls. I've used the word affectionately sometimes, referring to women as girls, and there was no affection in his tone. It was absolutely condescending. So, you know, it takes a while to develop a voice. But once you have it, you damn sure better use it on stuff that matters. So I took a deep breath in that moment and said, either they're going to get raises or I'm going to sit down. I'm not going to work if they don't get paid more, babe. Now, I would like to believe that I could have spoken that kind of truth to misogyny, even if I'd been all by myself. But here I was on the brink of finally getting what I really wanted and had been working many years for, a national show. I mean, I might have been too intimidated to stand my own ground against this guy if I were actually alone. But here's the thing, you're never alone. You're never alone. The sovereign sound of Maya Angelou's voice was pushing me forward that day, whispering, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. So when I was faced with the opportunity to advocate for my producers, I silently called on some of the 10,000 and walked into my boss's office, hand in spirit, with the women who had come before me. I could feel Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald and Pearl Bailey and Sarah Vaughan and Lena Horne clutching their green books looking for a place to eat while they sang in supper clubs for whites only. And I could feel Reese Taylor and Rosa Parks refusing to relinquish their dignity in the face of death threats. All these women were with me that day, walking into the office in Chicago, as was Diana Carroll and Petula Clark and Joan Baez and Mary Tyler Moore and Moms Mabley and Barbara Walters and all of the astonishing women whose names none of us will ever even know, despite their sacrifice. And I'm pretty sure I even heard Shirley Chisholm urging me on with this thought: if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I understood that there were so many times that many women from my mother's generation, and God knows my grandmother's generation, who were forced to grit their teeth and just take it because standing up for themselves wasn't even an option. The risk was too great, and they knew it. But they also knew in their bones what my dear friend Maya put so eloquently into words when she says, you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Because these women and so many others like them made the decision not to allow themselves to be reduced by the many injustices they were subjected to, I found the strength to act, if not just for myself, not just for my producers, but for all the women who in their ingenious ways subverted the rules, laid the foundation, and pushed the envelope just a little bit further for me and for you. So I stand here today feeling more empowered than ever. I come as one and I stand as 10,000. I do. Grateful beyond words to be able to look around this room and know that we all are here to fulfill the dreams of those who came before us. Maya used to say, you've been paid for. You've been paid for, young people, so put your crown on your head and wear it. We are here not merely to bear witness, but to be the new voices of an extraordinary new age. You see, when I was growing up, there were no black people in the media, just buckwheat, on television. And I was constantly doing that thing, looking to find myself. And what I found instead was Leave It to Beaver and Donna Reed and Lassie, although technically I guess Lassie was mostly brown. The point is, though, we are now able to see ourselves reflected through entertainment. But what pleases me most is that we're beginning to see on screen, what we're beginning to see is starting to change the landscape of what we see behind the scenes. What Kamal was talking about, true inclusion. And what I realized during all those years doing the Oprah show, and the reason that OWN is now thriving, is how essential it is to see yourself reflected in other people's stories. It's something that you, as white people, never have to even think about. Because the more you see a broader and richer and more nuanced depiction of yourself and your neighbor and the world, the more empowered you become. And it's that sense of empowerment that actually tethers us to the universe. It gives us at least a glimpse of how connected we all are. So what a blessed sign of progress it is to know that millions of kids in 2019 don't have to stand with their noses pressed up against the window or the television screens, looking in at a family that makes them feel less than by comparison. Today, we can point to work that says, you are every bit as valued and vital to the fabric of life as anyone else. You are a part of a community. But it takes time. It takes time to see yourself. It takes time to hear yourself and to feel appreciated for just being yourself. Empowerment does not happen overnight. Like change, it is never just one thing. It is a series of consistent steps, great and small, that proves to us again and again that genuine change is actually possible. So we are at long last perfectly positioned to reach out and design, as we are doing here today, opportunities for the next generation to be brought in, to observe, to learn, to watch, to see that trajectory change, to watch and see how we're doing things now, not how they were done 15 years ago, not even how they were done 5 years ago, but how we are working together today. The shift in creating more mindful representations of the world on screen and off. This is the moment. This is the moment that we want our young people to watch and emulate. This is our time to show this next generation what the workplace should look like. Inspiring, kind, open to ideas and thoughts and perspectives from a variety of people. This is how entertainment should be produced and reflected back to the world. All of the campaigns and programs that have been invented to foster change these last few wild years all come from the very specific intention of wanting to do better. And when you know better, you're supposed to do better. wanting to show that a different way of conducting business and creating content can be accomplished without eliminating voices or mistreating anyone along the way. It is possible to have workplaces that are profitable, that are interesting, that are ethical places, that honor, that encourage, and elevate. When people feel included, it allows for a better flow of creativity and cohesion. So to include more voices in the storytelling across every stage of development not only serves the work, it serves the world. And that's just one of the reasons why I am so proud of Ava DuVernay for leading the charge in employing female directors for our beautiful scripted series, Queen Sugar. We hired 28 first-time female directors during our 4 seasons of production. And those filmmakers, before they were hired, were not able to get a job in television because nobody was willing to take a chance. But Ava was not only willing, she wanted to. She said, let's hire all female directors. I said, can we do that? She said, you can do anything you want. I said, let's do it. And now, as much as we'd love to hire some of them back, they're all too busy working on other projects. That is incredible. It shows that when you're willing to say yes and then back that yes up with action, it can be done. And if you plant the seeds, talent takes root and then it blooms. So when I look at the young executives selected for this new fellowship program, the reason I'm in tears is because I realize that this is such a critical juncture. We've come together as an industry to say that we are going to do better. We are going to do better. So we have the good fortune to be in a position to identify and train some of the best and brightest students as we're doing so that they can become the leaders we wish we could have always been. So when I look at you young executives, I see the hope in your eyes. I see your excitement. I see that was a really good surprise. That would have been a great Oprah show moment. And it reminds me of the way my daughter girls from my academy in South Africa look on their graduation day as they cross the stage to accept their diplomas. I see the sacrifice and the work that it took to get here. But more than that, I see the ways in which your lives are now forever changed because of this opportunity that you're going to be given and the choices that you're going to make to step into leadership roles and in the cycles of abuse and poverty, of dysfunction that your mothers and grandmothers and fathers have endured. I see my girls walk across the stage and literally step into their power. And I am so proud that we are all here today consciously saying we want to step into our power to make a lasting impact on the next generation. Our power to say no to assholes. Thank you, Shonda Rhimes. Shonda Rhimes first instituted the no asshole policy. I love that. Our power to say that the way things were done yesterday does not define how we will still do them tomorrow. You know, Maya taught me a really, really important lesson on the day I opened the doors to the Academy. I share this story all the time because it impacted me so. I was feeling so good about everything. And I said, we were sitting there, she was making biscuits, and I said, I just know, Maya, this school is going to be my greatest legacy. And she got quiet for a moment, and she laid the dough down, and she said, you have no idea what your legacy is going to be. And I said, no, I think it's going to be school. It really is going to be school. And she said, did you hear me? You have no idea what your legacy is going to be because your legacy is every life you touch. It's not one thing. It's everything. It's every life you touch. And as always, Maya was right. People may not remember your every word. They may not remember all of your actions, but they certainly remember how your words and your actions made them feel. So let's leave here today with the collective memory of wanting to create enlightenment in the world. Let's leave here knowing that we can give people the sense that they have been heard and respected. Let's foster original thinking and humane treatment. Let's seek out the words we don't know. Let's do away with the us and them. I've seen us and them create a whole lot of problems, but I've never seen it solve one thing. Instead, let's nourish our artists. Let's offer the possibility of something better for all of us, because a new day is no longer on the horizon. The new day is now. Thank you.